This is CBC Here and Now.
Fellers finish crabbing who could be going lobster now, but some of them lobsters in bigger boats, and I mean, they're not able to go.
Tonight, talk about water under a troubled bridge.
That expensive new lift bridge in Placentia is stuck in the lowered position. Good evening, I'm Debbie Cooper.
And I'm Anthony Germain.
Well, the bridge in Placentia isn't moving, and that means fishing crews aren't either.
And as Here Now's Terry Roberts tells us, the problems with the bridge are causing headaches in Jerseyside Harbor.
Vehicle traffic is flowing smoothly over the Sir Ambrose Shea lift bridge. This $50 million span, opened less than 2 years ago, is doing its job if you drive a car or truck. But if your livelihood is out there in Placentia Bay, this bridge has become an obstacle.
We got a beautiful looking bridge, but we don't have a beautiful working bridge.
Some 20 smaller vessels can squeeze under the bridge at low tides, with some adjustments to their equipment. This vessel was seen approaching the bridge today and turning back. 3 larger vessels are stranded, unable to exit the harbor, with government saying it could take a month to repair the lift system. The problem is down here. A cable reel busted April 30th. Delivery time for a replacement, about a month.
This day and age, you know, you think they can get parts flown in from any part of the world within a couple of days.
This comes at a critical time, with some harvesters saying their season is being threatened.
It cost me big money, you know, by a boat like that tied up, you know. There's not the time to have her tied up. This is the fishing season.
We got fellers finish crabbing who could be going lobster now, but some of them lobsters in bigger boats, and I mean, they're not able to go.
Still crab to be caught. Cod season set to open, forcing some crews to adapt to a frustrating situation.
I couldn't get in here the other night. I had come in, I finished up my crab. I had to go into Fox Harbour, and there's only a small place down there, you know.
The busted cable reel that's causing all this frustration is a specialty item designed to withstand the harsh marine environment. It has to be sourced from outside the province at a cost of $24,000. Now, the province is also investigating what caused this malfunction to determine if the repairs will be covered under warranty. Terry Roberts, CBC News, Placentia.
A man who pleaded guilty to a horrific case of animal cruelty isn't happy about the notoriety the matter is getting him. John Corcoran was back in court this morning and was not pleased to have cameras pointing his way. Here now, Glenn Payette reports, but first a warning, there are some graphic pictures in this story.
John Corcoran should not be surprised that what he did has drawn attention from the mainstream media and on social media. This is the body of Corcoran's pit bull, Diamond. Corcoran let her starve to death. The province's chief veterinarian said the dog would have suffered greatly and taken 1 to 3 months to die. The judge handling the case, James Walsh, has called it torture. Corcoran left Diamond in a garbage bag inside a suitcase in a house he used to live in St. John's. The CBC decided this was the least disturbing picture of Diamond's emaciated body we could show you. In court, it was clear Corcoran wasn't pleased to see the cameras.
I'm going to stand up and turn around now. Jesus. What? It's ridiculous, but there's just not enough stuff all over Facebook and everything.
And he's right about that. CBC's local Facebook page received almost 250 comments about what Corcoran did, most vilifying him. The emojis tell the story. Corcoran represented himself on the cruelty charge and pleaded guilty. He was supposed to be sentenced last month, but failed to show up for court. Then last week, he turned himself into the police and was supposed to be sentenced today. But that didn't happen. Judge Walsh has made up his mind about what Corcoran should get for Diamond's suffering. But now Corcoran has a lawyer handling his charges for failing to show up for court. She just got the case yesterday and needs time to prepare her sentencing recommendations on those charges. So now Corcoran is back in court May 22nd. Glenn Payette, CBC News, St. John's.
The preliminary hearing for Stephen Bragg wrapped up today. He's accused of first-degree murder in the killing of Victoria Head. The 36-year-old woman was found dead in a field near O'Brien Farm in St. John's on November the 11th. The 7-day preliminary inquiry for Bragg is covered under a publication ban Judge Jacqueline Brazel will decide next Tuesday whether or not he'll stand trial for the charge of first-degree murder. In 10 minutes on Here and Now, what's the appeal of a daily dip in frigid cold water? We follow these swimmers to learn about their daily ritual.
I am freezing just looking at them.
I guess you wouldn't need any coffee to perk yourself up.
That's true. That's true.
Wow. Yeah. Well, all will be revealed as to why they do it shortly.
It was a nice day for a dip today, right? If that's your thing. Temperatures are certainly much cooler for the western half of the island than they were for the east. We'll get to that in a minute, but I want to give a little sense of what's on the way. With your weather on the way headlines, have a look at, again, the major theme here over the next 24 hours is the clouds and the showers that are going to be building in to Newfoundland and Labrador. Certainly the wettest period will be the Thursday night and Friday time period across the island. Saturday, we're going to be clearing out Friday night, and so Saturday's looking pretty good with some sunshine in the mix there. Showers to watch and maybe some flurries in the mix, even for Newfoundland, not out of the question for Mother's Day on Sunday. We'll be tracking that story with your long-range forecast coming up a little bit later in the show. Again, the general theme here, area of high pressure dominating. Here comes that cloud cover, your timeline. I think that cloud does build in a little bit earlier than what even this model is projecting. The evening and into the overnight is where we have our steadiest showers, but as quickly as they move in, they move out again through the Friday into Saturday time period, and more details coming up on that. Before I go, I want to throw this picture out. I posted it on my Facebook page. This was taken by the International Space Station, and they captioned it "Full Moon over Newfoundland." But I'm having a tough time kind of nailing down the geography of this one and where exactly in Newfoundland this is. This is along the coast of Newfoundland somewhere. I have my theory, but I want yours, and so you can have a little chat about that to yourselves, and we'll talk about that later on in the show. You can join the conversation on my Facebook page if you'd like as well. Anthony?
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Although it certainly looks as though these viewer pictures are getting more and more difficult.
Challenging.
Beautiful shot of the moon there. Stay tuned, we'll get some answers to that now. Calling all carnivores, and you may want to grab a bib for this next story. A St. John's promoter wants to throw a 4-day rib festival. It's called St. John's Rib Fest, a large-scale barbecue competition that would stop in St. John's for 4 days in July. And they often feature competitors from the southern states, where cooking ribs is something of an art, and there would also be activities for children and live music. The promoter hopes to throw the festival in Churchill Field, across from Churchill Square. Some local residents have voiced concerns about the noise. The city says it still has a lot more consulting to do before it gives this event a green light.
You have thousands of people that live within walking distance of Churchill Square and Churchill Park, and not having to drive to a festival, I think is an important aspect of this, and I'd love to see more things happening in Churchill Park and Churchill Square. It's just the question is whether this is the right type of event for that, and the intent is to address that with the promoter and then bring those concerns and hopefully some solutions back to council to consider.
Also in St. John's, Jiffy Cabs wants to help crack down on crime. The company is looking to partner with Neighborhood Watch to hang the Watch logo in its 85 cars and at its 8 taxi stands around town. Residents in distress could alert cab drivers, who would then contact police or emergency services. Or people could simply stop and sit in a cab if they feel unsafe.
The past little while, the Neighborhood Watch program has been almost left behind. People aren't getting into it anymore. There's always break-ins and etc. around the city. With all these taxi drivers, 85 cars, 200 drivers around the city, I think they're going to be an excellent resource for us.
Well, there's certainly no shortage of hype when it comes to Canada's path toward legalized pot. Pot stocks have been red hot, and stakeholders across the board want their cut of the profits. Here's one estimate of just how big the industry could be. CIBC thinks the legal cannabis market will approach, get this, $6.5 billion by 2020. That would actually beat sales of hard liquor, and it would be just nipping on the heels of wine sales. CIBC expects provinces to be the big winners, but private businesses will benefit too. The bank estimates that nearly $1 billion will flow to the bottom line. The bulk of that will come from production, and the rest will come from retailers, most of them in Western Canada. But there are retailers here in this province who hope to make money selling marijuana. The NLC announced, as Here and Now reported, that 24 were chosen to sell weed in our province, but only one of them was in Labrador, Tobin's Convenience. It's a family-run operation in Labrador City. Here and Now's Jacob Barker paid them a visit.
We're excited, we're anxious, we're nervous, we're just overjoyed. There's no words to express how you feel. So we're always looking for something new. We're always looking for a new venture and to bring new things in and everything. And although this is new to everybody in Canada, for us it's just a new addition to what we're doing. And we'll put 110% behind it.
Are you nervous about the stigma that's going to come along with it?
Yes and no. For the majority, people know it's legalized. We're not doing anything illegal, and we will follow their guidelines and their rules and their regulations. It's going to be in a very secure location with lots of cameras and security, age checks. You know, everything will be no different than selling beer, lotto, and cigarettes.
And it's not like we're introducing something new to the public. Like, we all know that it's out there. It's in high schools, unfortunately, and it's everywhere. So it's not like we're introducing it, but now it's going to be more regulated.
Why did you apply for this? Why do you want it?
It's new. It's
new and exciting, and
it's a new
something that's going to
venture.
happen. It's like you wouldn't be able to stop it, so why not be the first one to jump on board and be the first one to do it?
Anything that we can give as a service to the public, or anything that we can do, especially new and different, we're going for it. We don't care what it is.
No. Yeah. We're not afraid of any challenges or any opportunity that arises. We'll be going after it. Like, you might see in the future, you might be buying cannabis with bitcoins.
With Bitcoin, is that something you thought you would say 5 years ago?
Absolutely not.
No.
Never dreamt that. Another thing for it is Tobin's right now, especially this location. We have a couple of locations, but this location is mostly known for kids and candies and things like that.
Very family friendly.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that this is away from that. This is still going to stay the candy store and things like that. It's not going to be in our first location. We have another location where it'll be discreet, but still the public will know where it is and everything like that. But the kids are not going to be around in that general area, you know. Mm-hmm. So that's very important to us as well.
When would you plan to have your doors open?
The day that they say that it's legal, we will be ready. We'll have all of our renovations done and fully stocked and ready to go on the day that they say that we can open the doors.
We have to follow what they tell us, so whatever they tell us, the date, that'll be it. Yeah. We'll be ready.
And remember, you can watch Here and Now while you're on the go. We're broadcasting live on YouTube. You can also catch past episodes on demand. Just go to YouTube and subscribe to CBC NL.
Doing it because of that feeling. After a few seconds, you start really enjoying the water.
Okay, let's see if that's actually true. Up next, would you go for a daily dip in this kind of water? We follow along to find out why these people do this. Well, if you like taking a dip outdoors, the chances are you're probably looking forward to the weather in July as the water warms up a tad.
That's leaving it awfully late for the people we're about to introduce you to. For them, the colder the water, the better the challenge.
I'm Brent Bashara. At first it felt like my feet were being burnt off because I was just standing in the pond and it felt like they're being burnt off. But now 2 years later I can sit easily for 5 minutes in the pond. I go into the water because I love the challenge, not only the cascade of health benefits, but also the sincere challenge because we live in such luxurious times. The whole time you're sitting there for the 5 minutes is you're trying to think of a way to get out of the pond and leave the pond. Like you're trying to get, like, how can I leave the pond right now? And so the whole time you're playing this game with your mind and your body. And I find when you are in the pond that as soon as you go into your mind, it feels like two Rottweilers are rushing in on you because the cold enters your body immediately because you've entered your mind. And so by staying present to the body, you're able to ignite your inner fire. When I'm in the water, those 5 minutes are the opportunity for me to connect to my inner self. There's an outside world and an inside world, and the cold is a noble, righteous teacher in the sense that it gives us the immediate ability to connect to our body. I'm not doing my taxes, I'm not paying my bills, I'm not shopping online or whatever my mind-based activity is going to be. I can only be present to the moment. I started doing this 2 years ago when I saw Wim Hof, who's a Danish gentleman who's discovered this breathing technique that has allowed him to break 26 Guinness Book World Records on the Joe Rogan episode 712, where he discusses his breathing method and how he's broken these 26 records. Going into the pond with ice on it this year has been, I was looking forward to the ice. As soon as the first ice fell, I was out there because then now I can really get at the depth of the lessons, the depth of the exposure, because you can only really get that super cold exposure when you're in that super iced condition. Like now, showers, cold showers are easy breezy. Right now, the sensation of cold is on the outside. When we learn the mindset and breathing technique, we're able to stay on the inside of the shiver. My body's, I can feel it being cold, but my mindset and breath practice keeps me warm on the inside through the inner fire. Right now, I'm feeling exhilarated. Definitely, it's a remarkable experience to expose yourself to that cold and get at it.
My name is Roman Karska.
I am Martina Krskova.
Let's go.
Last summer we started to go into the ocean and we became addicted to it, so we swam until the end of December. We didn't stop, so we would go like 5 times per week, sometimes even every day in a week we would go into the ocean. We just became addicted.
We became part of it.
It's a mental problem. It's like physically, once you are in the water, your body somehow does it. But the biggest challenge for us is just to make up our minds and actually go.
The final swim of the season was on 15th of February of this year. And because I say season, because probably the lowest temperature of the ocean is sometime in March, and now it starts to slowly creep up again. At the time it was anywhere between 0, -0.5 degree, around 0.
The hardest part is a few seconds before you go into the water, when you start to undress and you are asking, why are we doing this? This is the craziest idea we've ever done.
I would describe water or sensation as something aggressive around me, what makes me fight, what wakes me up and wants me to live and expel all the energy out of me.
I'm doing it because of that feeling. After a few seconds, you start really enjoying the water And even after we get out of the water and we get dressed up, the mood improves immediately and all the problems of the world just disappear. So
we leave them in the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. That was fantastically refreshing. I think it's what it is, 5 p.m. and I'm just starting my new day now.
That was cold, but I feel great. Still cold, but great.
Okay, let's start a new day.
Let's do it again tomorrow.
Well, I wouldn't expect it to be so zen, but they seem to see the sort of mind benefits to it.
They're so happy.
Yeah.
I admire the mental strength.
I'd just be happy to come out with my heart still beating. Wow.
There every day. I go for a walk, I drop in, buy something, get my groceries there. It's going to be hard, but we got to get used to it.
So what happens when the only grocery store in town closes down?
We're getting reaction from Harbour Grace after Powell's Supermarket closed its doors.
Well, still thinking about that swimming item before the break. Today was sunny enough to go for a swim, but even in these ideal conditions, I think it'd stay indoors or enjoy the ocean from afar.
Years ago, and I'll remember this forever, I was invited, do you remember this? I was invited out to Topsail Beach. This is one of the first years I was here to jump into the ocean.
I do.
And that was in September or October, so it had the entire summer to warm up. It was frigid and something I'll never do again. So hats off to anybody doing it all winter long and breaking away any ice in ponds and whatnot. I also did a polar dip in Ontario one time. Again, one thing, got to do it once, never ever again. And Anthony was just talking about swimming in a wetsuit.
Still cold.
Still cold.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway.
Hats off to them.
Definitely. Okay, so temperature-wise today, it actually warmed up pretty nicely. Have a look at the timeline. It warmed up nicely for a time, but then we had a big temperature shift. So watch your timeline here. 11 a.m., double digits in St. John's, 12 Terra Nova, Gander, double digits in Badger as well. Note the winds from the west-northwest across western and northwestern Newfoundland, still from the south here across the southeast. And Labrador, yeah, riding that freezing mark even through this morning, edging up a little bit above into the afternoon. Now, 3:30 this afternoon, we were up to 15 degrees in St. John's and still 10 in Badger and 12 in Gander. But as we rolled through the afternoon, you can see where temperatures really started to drop. And in 1 hour, we dropped 10 degrees at St. John's YYT and across much of the northeast Avalon as winds shifted to northwest. Still 12 in Terra Nova and 13 in St. Lawrence, but that wind shift is on your doorstep as well. And everybody really drops off tonight. Area of high pressure in firm control. Winds are going to become light. Skies are going to become mostly clear. And so definitely a good risk of seeing some frost setting up for a good portion of us for tomorrow. High cloud, again, starting to flirt with southern Newfoundland, but it won't really track in until we roll through the day tomorrow, and that's where we'll see that increasing cloud first high and then working its way down closer to the surface into the afternoon as that next system does approach. Note the winds are going to become very light through the overnight, also helping set up for that potential for some frost for a good portion of us. Now, our next system off to the west over the Great Lakes, frontal boundary starting to build into Labrador overnight tonight and through tomorrow. A bit of a messy mix. Risk of some freezing rain through the overnight into tomorrow morning for Labrador City. Across to Happy Valley Goose Bay. Temperatures will start near -6 there. Should be rising up towards the freezing mark by 6, 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Your morning outlook across the rest of the island, again, frosty. -2 to -5 generally. Now into the afternoon, winds are going to become a little more south-southeast. And certainly the clouds, again, high cloud cover starting to build into the latter half of the day. We will see chance of some showers, but I think some sunny breaks for Happy Valley Goose Bay. We'll show you your forecast in just a second. With the south-southeast winds at 6, 8 degrees for the Avalon, the Burin, you'll find some double-digit temps. Clarenville, Terra Nova, Gander, Grand Falls, Windsor. I think the Humber Valley will be the hot spot tomorrow at 14 with this kind of a setup. Certainly that cloud cover building in over the southwest coast. There is that mix of sun and cloud for the southeast. Happy Valley Goose Bay, after that bit of a messy mix in the morning, we'll see a sunbreak or two. Temperatures rise to 10 degrees. It's wet, damp for Thursday night through early Friday, and then the general setup on Friday is a clear out from west to east, although temperatures will be falling along western parts of Newfoundland. 12 the high, but into the single digits by the afternoon. 12 to 14 degrees central and east, and Labrador, a few wet flurries starting to mix in. We'll talk about your Mother's Day weekend forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, this week, a store that was once a part of the heart of Harbour Grace shut its doors for good. This after decades of serving the community. Here now's Allison Sampson has more.
Things weren't always this quiet here. But like many other rural communities on the island, Harbour Grace isn't like it used to be. And now, another blow. Powell's, the community's only supermarket, closed shop on Monday. That means about 3,000 people will have to go elsewhere to find fresh groceries and goods.
I guess for these people that now have to get a taxi to go to another community, that money wasn't scheduled to be spent. That was scheduled to be spent here at Powell's on groceries, and that's going to have to come out of the grocery list, which, you know, it's hard enough to make ends meet when you're on limited incomes or on just fixed incomes.
Less money for food and further to go, over a highway about 5 kilometers away.
Well, I was used to going over there day by day and getting what I want. Now I gotta probably make a list and make one trip or two trips whenever I can get a ride, and it's gonna be different.
This isn't the only structure sitting empty in Harbour Grace. Since the Terra Nova Shoes Company closed in 2014, jobs have been on the decline, and so has the local economy.
If we go back 10 years ago, the movement of the highway away from right here, that started a downward trend. We saw the shoe factory close, and you know, that was a good employer in the area. And the stadium moving to the highway, we used to get a lot of traffic in our restaurant and as kids played hockey. And now there's no reason for a lot of people to come down to this area.
For its part, Powell says people in Harbour Grace will soon be able to order groceries online or use the store's existing telephone service. In the meantime, shoppers in this town are down to one convenience store. Allison Sampson, CBC News, Harbour Grace.
The lineup for the Newfoundland and Labrador Folk Festival was announced today, and there is a heavy focus on local talent. The main act is Buddy What's-His-Name and the other fellers. Other big names include the Once, Fortunate Ones, and the Ennis Sisters. And for the little ones, well, Fred Penner is the big attraction. The festival takes place August 3rd through the 5th at Bannerman Park in St. John's, and for the first time, the festival is going to have its very own beer. Yes, that's right, a special pale ale from Kitty Vitty Brewery.
Come on, to leave something behind.
He's used chainsaws for work and wood cutting for most of his life.
Now he's found a new business using his tools.
I just want to take it better.
Welcome back. Former Liberal Premier Beaton Tulk has written a book, and it's called A Man of My Word, a Memoir. The 73-year-old has been battling prostate cancer for over a decade, and he spoke with the St. John's Morning Show's Fred Hutton. And one of the topics they covered was Tulk's love for his hometown, Ladle Cove.
I was a dinner guest of Prince Philip one time, and he asked me where I came from, and I told him Ladle Cove was a place where you could, and there were many other places around Newfoundland. We should never forget them. There were places where I always believed that I grew up in a cocoon, where everybody took care of everybody. There were no roads, there was no electricity, there was no television. You had radio, dry cell battery radio, and you kept that for the journalist, all news bulletin, and the Big Six. And the it was just a beautiful place. Everybody took care of everybody. And I've always wanted to write about Ladle Cove, and I'm so proud to have been brought up where I was brought up.
What was it? You went on to become a teacher. You wrote in your book that your mom was pretty proud of that. The only way she would have been prouder is if you had followed in the ministry or become a priest or a minister.
Well, my mother was every evening dressed a kerosene on a lamp, and her favourite words were, "Learn your lesson, my son, and get a good job. Don't be like your father in the lumber woods or your grandfather in the fishing boat." And that, by the way, was a sermon of the day for Joe Smallwood. I don't care what else you say about him. You can say what you like about him, but he brought us out of the dark ages through education. And she obviously would have preferred that. She always said, get a government job, go teach and get a government job, or become a minister. I did all three, but I don't think I was the minister that she wanted. And I don't think she expected it, really. I never wanted the job. I really never wanted to be premier. I wanted to be a minister in a Liberal government. And if you go back and look at some of the things that I said, that's all I've ever said. But when I got the job, yes, I realized, and I probably thought I couldn't do the job. Because, you know, when you come from some of the small communities, one of the things that is somehow bred into is a feeling of insecurity, that you cannot, maybe not do all you're capable of doing. But when I got the job, I realized this is the best job in the province. You could ask people to do things that you wanted done.
And they do it.
And they do it. If a minister doesn't do what the Premier wants done, it's a known tradition that the Premier has your resignation in his desk, although it may not be there, it's supposed to be in his desk. And it's a great way to get things done that you want done for the province. And so yes, but I had given my word. I had given my word to the caucus that I wouldn't run. And although I had a number of people, I did an interview with Jim Towns, and I got great reaction from people. So a number of people called and said, you should run for this. As a matter of fact, a number of people want to do a draft. And I said, nope, can't do it. I gave my word that I wouldn't, and therefore I can't do it. And besides that, the practical politics of breaking your word to your colleagues, they would have skewered you. I mean, those guys were Roger Grimes, John Efford, and Paul Dix. They're not fools when it comes to politics, right?
That was Beaton Tulk earlier this morning. Well, we think of chainsaws as a tool to cut down or cut up trees. Not so for one man from Renews. He sees the chainsaw as his paintbrush, his canvas, a tree stump.
I was watching those shows like Carving Kings and Timber Kings, and I decided to just do a couple for the yard. Just the people that were doing it on the shows, they just looked so free, like they looked like they were having so much fun, and they were really into it. So then when I put on my hearing pad, like the protection, it's just like meditation. It's just like you're in your own little world. Just watching like other carvers on like like doing like YouTube videos and how to carve this and how to carve that, and just like there are some carvers out there that blow me away. They're just amazing. I've gotten 4 or 5 towns that have called me and asked me to pick, because they have like a heritage day like over the summer. So they've called and asked me if I could go and do like a chainsaw carving demo for the day. And I've gotten probably 20 orders since last week, so it's going really well. I just want to get better at it, and I want to get more like realistic. And I want people to have them for like years to come, like even after I'm gone. I guess I want to leave something behind.
It had a sound, it like went off, and then it said, "This is a presidential alert."
She got today's emergency alert, did you?
Today was a testing day of the national alert system in this province.
Time to meet our young athlete of the day. This is Ariana Lannon, who is 8 and lives in Paradise.
She plays hockey with the under-9 Pink Warriors in her hometown. She also enjoys swimming.
And our young athlete of the day, yes, also enjoys gymnastics. Congratulations, Ariana. You're today's young athlete of the day.
Bright blue day. It actually got really nice in the afternoon.
It
was
was
18 degrees, I think.
It was lovely.
Is that right?
15 officially, maybe in a few backyards though. Not
Very strong winds. I know this morning out walking, it was quite chilly. Had the winter coat on still.
And then the big wind shift and the big temperature drop later this afternoon here in St. John's. 10 degrees. It dropped in 1 hour.
Wow.
Before we get to the weather, I showed this picture earlier, and I posted this on my Facebook page, trying to get a sense of where this was taken. NASA says the International Space Station took this picture over Newfoundland, over the coast of Newfoundland. No more specifics, and so this is my thinking, is that it's Bonavista North, looking north back to the south towards Gander and Gambo and Eastport. There's the view again. That's my theory.
I would never have guessed that.
I don't know if I'm right, but that's what I'm thinking. And
that's the worst audition for a job at NASA I have ever seen. Nice try, though.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. If you have any other ideas, please feel free to share on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Ryan.Snoddon. A few of you others, folks, have the same idea as I do. Okay, so temperatures really warm ahead of this system that's rolling in to the Great Lakes right now. Certainly cooler in behind. As it rolls through our neck of the woods, we are going to be seeing the clouds, the showers, and yes, temperatures staying mild over the next couple of days. We will see certainly a cooler day generally tomorrow across the island. 8 degrees in across eastern Newfoundland, that is. 8 degrees in St. John's for tomorrow, but we'll be back into the double digits for central and west. The rain will move in tomorrow night. Friday is looking like a damp one for sure, as I mentioned. And then Friday afternoon through Friday evening, it clears on the island. Showers will mix back to flurries in Labrador as the system starts to depart for Friday night. And Saturday generally looks pretty quiet. Mainly cloudy skies across Labrador. Newfoundland looks like a nice day on Saturday. If you have some weekend plans, I think it will be the pick of the weekend. And then our next system will dart in quickly. It's not looking nearly as intense as it was 24 hours ago, but still enough to muster a few showers, maybe a few wet flurries, northern peninsula, western parts of Newfoundland, and then Labrador will get into a little bit of a messy mix for the Sunday night, Monday time period. But Mother's Day on Sunday, I think the clouds dominate and better chance of showers certainly into the afternoon. Temperatures cooler. Saturday will be the brighter day of the two, with temperatures right around that lucky 8 number as we roll through the Newfoundland region. Now Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday, another weak disturbance will track through with a little bit of some double-digit action there early next week as well. In Labrador, we're talking about certainly a cool down for Thursday into Friday. The weekend does look cool, albeit dry, and then again that another system moving in for Sunday night in through Monday, and so we'll keep you posted on that over the next couple of days. That's your forecast now, Debbie and Anthony.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Well, Debbie, did you get an emergency signal of any kind today?
Nothing.
Zip?
Zip.
That's bad news.
And I was looking at notifications and everything, and there's 3 people around us here this evening.
Yep.
They
I got
didn't
one.
get them either.
I got one.
You did.
Yep. So the zombie apocalypse, Debbie Cooper's getting eaten, and I'm not. So that happened just after 2 o'clock this afternoon. So that's when I got my message, and a few people in the office did. An alarm kind of sounding from their cell phones.
The CRTC is implementing a new system to warn people about everything from floods to amber alerts to terrorist threats. Testing in Ontario and Quebec has been glitchy so far.
And it seems that Newfoundland Labrador, no different. There are some people received today's warning messages and others, like Debbie, did not. So our reporter, Andrew Sampson, decided to hit up the Avalon Mall in St. John's today to see if people think this whole emergency testing alarm system is a success or not.
It had a sound. It like went off, and then it said, "This is a presidential alert." It was just like a beeping noise, kind of like a fire alarm, but faster. They should probably have it on time, because if a real emergency happened, then like what would you do?
I feel like they'll get better at it. I have hope for them.
Like, what would you say the best way to reach you would be an emergency?
Definitely on my phone. Yeah, 100%.
Who among you got the alert today?
I did. Yeah, I did not. I forgot about it, and there was like a brief moment of panic because like I felt it and I was like, oh, but then I remembered that it was just a kind of a drill or a test.
Like you could hear all of everybody's phone around you going, and it kind of just sounded like the PA system at the mall was going off. I think it's important to put like security measures in place in the event of something really bad. Like not to say that that would actually happen, but to say that like it's always good to have that going. But like obviously if not everybody's getting it, then that's also really worrying. So like I don't think we should rely 100% on this, but I mean it's a really good step, I guess.
Well, Danny Williams has asked the City of St. John's to go to mediation. It's about a dispute involving residential permits over his Galway development. Williams says he can't get his permits to develop the land because the city wants to use some of that land for snow dumping. Today, Williams sent a letter to St. John's City Council asking them to issue the permits immediately and go to mediation to resolve the issue.
In international news, tensions are rising tonight between the United States and Iran. After President Donald Trump's decision yesterday to pull out of the Iranian nuclear deal, tensions have certainly increased. Insults are flying back and forth, but none of this seems to bother Donald Trump.
We'll see how we do with Iran. Probably we won't do very well with them, but that's okay too. They've got to understand life, because I don't think they do understand life.
This video shows politicians in the Iranian parliament burning a U.S. flag and shouting "Death to America." The supreme leader of Iran, the Ayatollah, calls Trump's words silly and superficial, and he calls the decision to pull out of the deal a mistake.
Well, energy stocks have increased after Trump's move to pull out of the Iranian deal. Brent crude climbed to more than $70 US a barrel, closing at 77.21. That is a gain of more than $2 per barrel. Brent crude is the benchmark to price international oils.
When it comes to shopping or choosing a company to do work on your home, online reviews can help steer you in the right direction. But when an Ottawa woman posted complaints about a company that she hired to clean up a flooded basement, the company's lawyer shot back with a threat: take them down or else. Some call that a threat to freedom of speech. Jennifer Chevalier reports.
Alexia Matt wrote 2 negative reviews about a company she hired to clean up a flood in her mother's basement. She wasn't happy with the service she got or the bill for $18,000. The company's lawyers sent her a cease and desist letter, calling the online reviews malicious. They told her to take them down or face a 6-figure lawsuit. The lawyers pointed to a recent Ontario Court of Appeal decision that awarded damages of $700,000 in a defamation case as an example of the steep penalty Matt could face. And they said if she couldn't remove them, she should change them to positive reviews.
I felt like the company was trying to bully me, I guess, into submission. And it's the fact that they told me that I should change my negative review to a positive review. I picked them based on their positive reviews, and this happened to me. I wouldn't want this to happen to their homeowner.
Some civil liberties campaigners say these kinds of demand letters and lawsuits are part of a disturbing trend.
The courts are deciding that so-called cyber libel actually entails even larger damages than regular defamation cases. And this is very disturbing, and it's part of a larger trend in society to shut down freedom of speech on the internet.
The company's lawyers disagree it's an attack on freedom of speech. They say her charter rights have not been violated. They say she's got the right to post, but the company also has the right not to be defamed. In a statement to CBC, the lawyer for CRS says the allegations in Matt's reviews are false. They say it's a reliable company with overwhelmingly positive reviews. Legal experts warn people have to be careful when posting online, only to express opinions in the public interest that are based on provable facts.
With the proliferation of technology and the availability of making comment, people feel unshackled, and they feel they're entitled to express themselves about anything without restraint, and that's not right.
But the woman at the heart of the story says she's not going to take the post down. Jennifer Chevalier, CBC News, Ottawa.
Alrighty, beautiful sunset picture taken along the southern shore. But can you name the community, Anthony and Debbie?
Well, rules out Eastport.
Oh dear.
Have a think on it.
Big river like that.
That's a river, right?
Yep.
Salmon River?
It could be. Southern Biscay
no.
Bay? No.
Lost.
Lost.
Welcome back. Pro wrestling is a live-action, hard-hitting form of entertainment, and it's pretty difficult to be successful in it.
And a man from Windsor, Ontario, has to overcome more obstacles than most to make a go of it. Sanjay Maru reports.
It's a rare look into the world of professional wrestling, a place where students learn how to perform submission holds and hard-hitting slams. Can-Am Wrestling School has been training students since 1993. 34-year-old Cameron Adamson has been there since January of last year. He graduated from law school, but he really wanted to wrestle. And there is one thing that sets him apart from his peers. He was born without legs, but that doesn't mean he isn't pushed as hard as his fellow students.
Even without the legs, I'm still doing all the push-ups and all the dips and all the work. And they're also helping me learn what I can do and how I can move. So it's been great at learning maybe some things I thought I was limited at, I'm actually not. And just find those workarounds. You can make anything work.
So far, Adamson has performed as a referee at 2 events, but he does more than simply enforce the action. Even without legs, he performs aerial maneuvers off the top rope. Respect is extremely important in the world of professional wrestling, and it's something Adamson has earned from his trainers.
His drive is like no other. He's here more than everybody else. He wants to try a bunch of stuff that he really, I wouldn't say necessarily should try, but he just wants to get in there and do as much as he can. I really respect that.
Adamson knows his options will be limited in the professional wrestling world, but he doesn't care about that. Instead, he'll focus on doing whatever he can to work in the business he's loved since he was a kid. Sanjay Maru, CBC News, Windsor.
Gutsy guy. Well, it's already being called the sale of the century, and it's not even over yet. $646 million worth of modern and impressionist art, including a Monet, It's a nice one. And an early Picasso was sold in the first day of a 3-day auction at Christie's Auction House.
The money from the private collection owned by billionaires Peggy and David Rockefeller will be donated to charity. It is the most valuable private sale of all time, edging out a collection owned by Yves Saint Laurent in 2009.
Gorgeous. Bit of art there to hang, in the shed.
Yeah.
The Royal Canadian Mint is getting in the royal wedding spirit.
3, 2, 1, unveil!
Today, the Mint unveiled a new collector coin to celebrate the big upcoming event.
And instead of paying a licensing fee for the photo it used, the Mint is making a $25,000 donation to the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. Prince Harry visited the center last year. His late mother, Princess Diana, made a visit in 1991.
It's kind of a large coin, though, to carry around.
Actually, it's very attractive.
Yeah, nice neat cast, yeah.
Okay, viewer picture of the day, Southern Shore. But again, so many beautiful spots. I'm not actually sure where exactly in this town it was taken. As I've been doing with any kind of trivia game with my little guy right now, I say it starts with an M.
An M. An M, an M, an M, an M.
I don't know.
Help us.
Oh, Mobile.
Sunset and Mobile.
Mobile. And
So
Evelyn Johnson. I love the picture. I believe that is like a freshwater pond because it is looking west, obviously, towards the sun setting.
But that's the river leading out of the pond.
There you go, yeah.
It could be a river.
Absolutely.
It is gorgeous there.
Could be a few trout in there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
May 24th.
Nice shot there, Evelyn.
Around the corner.
It's just around the corner. Yep. So you heard we're only allowed to keep one salmon, eh?
Yes, I know.
And Debbie's more likely to get one than I am.
I was going to say, you got to catch one first, Anthony.
That's my
I'm allowed
problem.
one can of salmon. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Good night.